Today we are going to talk about IT security. I know I've posted a few videos in the past about information technology and online safety security, such as passwords and how to keep your home network safe. For all those videos, I've posted links down below, so that way you have other references as well. Because while we'll talk about home security and passwords, those videos are specific to those topics to better serve you. So in this video, we're going to go over more security tips and tricks, and that's to help you stay safe. I don't think you can ever have too much security when it comes to you and your personal information. So let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to talk about is the overall view of what's at stake: passwords, multi-factor authentication, your cell phones, work phones, tablets, computers, email, home network, your work or business, your VPN services, hey buddy, and then as well as public networks and online safety, travel safety, which isn't something that a lot of people really think about, and then social media, as well as some extra information that is either reiteration of other stuff or didn't necessarily fit inside of all of the or any of these topics. So what's at stake? This is pretty obvious: your personal information. Easily obtained information such as your phone number, your email, your street address, your work, things like that. Then even harder to get information such as passport information, bank, loan, credit, debit card information, social security numbers, things like that you don't want people to have. And scary enough, whatever you do online can still affect your children's information, your business's information, and that isn't like for business owners. That's also for the business that you work for. And there's so much more, but this here should get you thinking about, if I do this, what will it affect? It's so much more than just this list here. Passwords and multi-factor authentication is a huge one. Utilize secure passwords, and we'll go over that. Keep all passwords different when possible. Never use the same passwords for your social media as you do your work, as you do your bank or credit or loan information. So basically, if you're going to reuse passwords, which I never suggest, whatever you use for your social media does not or cannot be the same as your work password, which neither of those can be the same as your financial information. So you want to make sure that even if you're using similar passwords or same passwords, make sure they're vastly different for all three of those. Change passwords every 90 days, 180 days, or every year. But I definitely suggest as often as possible. Never use dates, names, or easily guessed information as your passwords, such as your parents' names, your child's names, your nicknames, your animals' names, dates people were born or married, or anything like that. Don't use anything that's easily guessed or traced back to you. Passwords should be long and memorable, but only memorable to you. In this example here, we've thrown out a phrase, a favorite number, and different combinations of what you can come up with. So like the example phrase is "I love dogs and cats." The example favorite number is 126. So find different ways to mix in capital letters, lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters in there to make that password. Now, these passwords aren't near long enough. They're just simply an example of a passphrase, or using a passphrase rather than a password, because a password can be easily guessed. A passphrase is not as easily guessed, but also it's more memorable to you. So this is just an example, but again, this isn't long enough. I highly suggest using 12-character or longer passwords for everything you use. Mix your passwords up, like I said, with uppercase, lowercase, numbers, special characters, passphrases instead of words. Try to be as unique as possible. And then do not use your email or your username as part of any of your passwords whatsoever. Something else you should do is, or consider using, is a password generator. This is great because it'll come up with random combinations, things that you may not think of, things that would be hard to hack, extremely long passwords. You can password generator, some of them you can customize as the length and complexity. And so use a password generator rather than trying to come up with something in your head. And if you're using a password generator, I suggest using a password tracker of some sort, especially since if you follow all the instructions that I'm telling you, 12 characters or longer passwords, change them every 90 days, keep them different for every single account that you have. How are you going to remember it all? Don't write it down. That's not safe and secure. So use a password tracker, such as, a free one is Apple Keychain for, Apple users. If you want to go out and pay for one, LastPass is a great one. Another option is if you have a secure way of locking passwords in a secure location on your phone or computer, feel free to do that. Use multi-factor authentication when possible. Multi-factor authentication is also known as two-factor authentication, and there are a ton of options out there, such as Microsoft's Authenticator app and Google's app, which are free, Duo Mobile, and then Apple has their own two-factor authentication, as well as Amazon. I think Facebook and other social medias are getting their own as well. You can even simply set up one where you get a texted code, or you get a phone call where it gives you a code, or you have to hit a button or something like that to approve your access. So there's a lot of ways to do it for free or paid. Now, this is something that's important, and most people do this, but not everybody does. Put passwords on all of your devices. I can't stress that enough. Phones, tablets, computers, on your work phone, do voicemail passwords, things like that. Do pins if necessary. This way, you can help your devices be more secure. The reason is, and the reason that I can't stress this enough is, think about all the information that phones can house. If you use your phone to its fullest capacity, iPhone or Android, doesn't matter which, if you're using your phone to its fullest capacity, it can have health data, bank information, card information. You have apps with all your financial information. You have photos and videos that you may not want other people seeing. You've got potentially all of your passwords on there. It's just a vast amount of information, and I can't stress it enough. You need to have secure passwords on all of your devices, even if it's your kid's device that they just play games on. It doesn't matter. Password protected. When possible, use biometric passwords. I understand that a lot of people are like, oh, well, Apple's just collecting this for the government, or Android's just collecting this for the government. No, that's not necessarily true, and even if it were true, which I don't believe that it is, but biometric passwords are some of the most secure and safest passwords, whether you're using a thumbprint, a finger, or any of your other fingerprints, whether you're using your eyes, whether you're using your face, use a biometric password when possible. A lot of phones, tablets, and computers are moving to that these days. Whether you're on an Android or iPhone or Windows device, a lot of them are moving to that. So use biometric passwords when possible. Do not reuse passwords, especially something that's been used within the last 2 years. The reason is the more often you reuse a password, the easier it is for someone to guess the password for all of your accounts. Not only that, but say, you hear about all these companies getting hacked and data getting leaked and so on and so forth, and say, that big box store that you have an account at, they get hacked and they steal your data, and let's say you have that email and password set up for your bank account or your social media account or your work account, they can hack it. They have your information. And so, if they hack your information, then if you reuse your passwords or use the same password, they can pretty much get into anything and everything of yours. Another huge one is do not give out any passwords. I understand, like, if you and your spouse or your kid or your parent are using the same account for something, okay, I understand, share your password with them. But just because somebody's your best friend, don't share a password with them. Phones and tablets. Here's, I've already touched on a couple of these, password protect your devices, use biometric passwords when possible, and do not share passwords if it's not necessary. I can't stress that enough. But another thing that a lot of people don't think about is keeping your device healthy. You can keep them healthy by keeping the operating systems up to date. Keeping them protected with antivirus software, avoiding untrusted websites, downloading only trusted apps from trusted sources such as Apple's App Store, Google's Play Store, Microsoft Store. Even keeping your apps up to date, offloading or deleting or removing apps that are no longer staying up to date or are no longer possible to be used on your device, or removing devices that you no longer use, removing apps off your device that you no longer use. And I guess that's another thing, is to remove your accounts and information off of devices that you no longer use. So there's a lot of things that you can do to keep your device healthy. Another one, and this is a big one, do not use public Wi-Fi networks. If you have to use one, do not use one that is not password protected. Do not leave your devices lying around in public places, and always lock devices upon setting them down. Continuing with phone and tablets, a few other things to just keep in the back of your mind is do not answer unknown phone calls unless you're expecting a call from an unfamiliar number. Now, this can be difficult if you're a salesperson or a real estate agent. Your business kind of relies on people calling you, so you're going to have to answer unsolicited calls at times. But if the call is a spam, a phone call, a telemarketer, or anything like that, just hang up immediately. Don't say anything. Sometimes they're recording, sometimes they're not. Just save yourself the hassle and do not say anything, especially yes or no. Do not give out your personal information over the phone. This is bank account information, credit information, anything private. Obviously, if you're calling somebody to make a payment, that's a different story, but you're initiating that through a trusted source. If someone calls you stating that they are from your bank or loan office, utility company, so on and so forth, and you don't recognize the number, you don't recognize the person, or they're sounding a little fishy, like they're trying to do some social engineering trick on you, hang up immediately. Don't say anything, just hang up the phone. Then go and contact, say they're calling you from their bank wanting information, saying there's something wrong with your account, they need information to verify it. Like I said, hang up, ignore them. Go to your financial services website or app, or if you know somebody there, call them and find out and verify whether, if what that person was saying, is it true, and if so, get it fixed. If it wasn't true, then you truly know it was a scam and you saved yourself a headache. And you should probably change your passwords as well. But just make sure that whatever you're doing, you're doing it with a trusted source. AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile all have mobile security apps that can help filter out phone calls or let you know through the caller ID that it's a telemarketer or possible spam call. And then those apps will allow you to block spam phone numbers, or you can do it through your phone settings as well. Okay, so for your computers, this is not just for your personal devices, but it's also for your work devices as well. So you always want to password protect devices. Where have I heard that before? Biometrics, obviously the best option possible. Change your passwords often on your personal devices. Most businesses have a password regimen, so to speak, or policy that they go by, so just follow that. Once again, keep your devices healthy. Keep them up to date. Keep them protected with antivirus software. Again, if you're using a business machine, your IT department should have that covered. If they don't, talk to them about it, see if you can get something going. You want to stay safe. Avoid untrusted and sketchy websites. I know that for college students or even for your personal gain, you sometimes have to do research for papers and projects and so on and so forth. So what I suggest for that is go to .edu, .org, and .gov websites first. And if you can't find something in there that you need, start going to .coms, but make sure that if the website is HTTPS, which is a secure website, or make sure it's something that you recognize. Like I know, like a lot of news organizations are .coms, but they're news organizations, so it's a trusted website. And then, once again, download only trusted apps. Start with Apple's App Store, Google's Play Store, or even Microsoft's Store as the first option, because those developers have been verified, whether it's protecting you or protecting your device. They've been verified. If what you need isn't there, then feel free to go to a trusted website for whatever it is that you're needing to download. Keep all of your applications up to date, delete stuff you don't use, yada yada. The same stuff that I said for your phones and tablets, but I can't stress it enough. Seriously, keep everything up to date and protected. And here's something that goes for computers and tablets, a little harder to do with phones, but it's good for computers and tablets. If you're not using the device, shut it down. One, if it's a device with a battery, it saves the battery power. If it's a device that plugs directly in, like a desktop, then you're saving yourself some electricity costs at the end of the month. The other thing is if they're shut down, depending on how your BIOS settings are set up, you're probably not connected to the internet, which means you're not likely or not as likely to get a virus or malware attack. So, it's just safer for your devices. And, even before shutting down your device, you can disconnect from Wi-Fi or disconnect your Ethernet cable and then shut your tablet or computer down. And to continue on with computers, lock your device, especially when not in use, and especially at work, in a public place, or on campus, or wherever. If you're not home and you're just walking away and you're the only one home, no big deal. If you've got an animal, you might want to lock it in case they accidentally step on the keyboard and delete something. Do not share passwords if unnecessary. Once again, do not enter passwords in unsecure notes, documents, or folders. Like I had mentioned earlier, if you're not using a password tracker or keeper, then you can put something in a note somewhere, as long as you can make sure it's secure. Make sure your computer, tablet, or phone is password protected, and then wherever you're putting it, whatever application you're using, make sure that is password protected as well. Here's a huge one. Do not plug in random USB devices or any other devices into your computer, whether it's personal or work related. If you see a random USB drive just hanging out somewhere, throw it away. Crush it, break it, something. Don't use it. Don't plug it in. If you're at work and you see it, turn it into your IT department. Let them do what they need to do with it to make sure that everything's safe and secure. Because it's very possible that somebody can put a virus or malware or something malicious on that USB thumb drive, and when you plug it in, it takes over your computer, damages it, implements a virus, malware, malicious software of some sort. So just don't do it. Just throw it, break it and throw it away, or give it to your IT department. Once again, do not use public Wi-Fi networks when possible, especially unprotected ones. Do not leave your devices laying around in public. Email. This is like phone calls. Emails are how a lot of bad people and hackers, spammers, use. One of the ways that they use to trick people through social engineering. So the best thing is use spam filtering. And if you don't recognize the sender, do not open, reply, forward, open attachments, click on links, or save that email under any circumstance. So those things there, spam filtering and antivirus protection and not opening the email. That's the best thing you can do. So say you open an email and you read it. If it's too good to be true, it truly is. Just delete it. It's a spam. If you don't initiate the conversation and the email seems suspicious, delete it. Be wary of emails that you get from unknown or barely known senders when you aren't expecting the email, because chances are it's a spam or it's just something annoying that you don't need. If you open the email and you hover over a link, don't click on it. Hover your mouse over it. And that link, if what's here and what pops up in the box when you hover over it, if those are the same, it's probably a legit link. Still wouldn't click on it, but that's legit. It more than likely. If what's displayed is very different than what's here, chances are it's a spam. It's malicious in some manner. The same thing with the reply option is in a lot of email apps on computers. You can hover over the reply button, and if the reply email address matches the email address that it was sent from, then chances are it's probably a real email, but it doesn't mean that it's not a spam of some sort or malicious. If you have a bad feeling about the email, just delete it. If you're reading an email and there's a lot of misspellings or, words are transposed or it just isn't quite right, then just delete it. Don't click on anything. Don't forward it. Don't save it. Just delete it. Get it out of your email inbox. And, when you're at work, call your IT department if necessary and see how they want you to proceed with this, because they might have a way of reporting that email that safely reports it to them so they can view it. Home network. This is just going to be a broad overview of your home network. And the reason is that I have this video out there, Home Network Security and Safety, that has a ton more information that I'm including the link to down below. So check that video out for more information about how to keep your home network safe and secure. For the overall, just a top level overview here, or high level overview, you want to utilize wired connections when possible. Obviously on cell phones and tablets, a little harder to do that with. Ensure that your wireless network is password protected. The best password protection or encryption right now that most of them are going to provide for your house is going to be a WPA2 AES encryption. And when you set your wireless network password, you want to follow the same rules as before. That way, it helps keep your whole network safe. Because if you have your modem with a password and your router with a password, and then your Wi-Fi network has a password, and your mobile device or your desktop computer or whatever, your network attached storage, whatever it is, if every one of those has a password and every one of those is a different password, you're that much more secure. Change your passwords often, especially if you live in a close area, such as close proximity to other people, such as apartment buildings or student complexes. Also, do not use a SSID that can easily link back to you. So what that is your network name. And you don't want to use your first name or your last name or your street address or anything like that, because that easily identifies you. And so if somebody's been trying to hack your stuff and say they've gotten through to something, that just makes things that much easier for them. So have fun, create some fun names, something generic, it could be Wi-Fi 1, whatever, whatever you want to name it. Just don't use your name, your address, your animal's name, kid's name, whatever. Don't use anything basic like that. Also, do not allow just anyone to join your home network, and utilize a guest network if possible. These two here are important because Your guest network, if you utilize a guest network, anybody that comes over, you can put them on that, which helps keep your stuff safe, because if you let them use your network that all your devices are on, and say your best friend comes over and they've got a computer that has, malware on it because they weren't being smart and protecting themselves, and they get on your Wi-Fi, guess what? Your phones, your tablets, your computers, your TVs, your game consoles, everything can become infected. It is possible to do that. So keep them off your network when possible. Put them on a guest network, or just tell them no. Another thing is, if you're tech savvy, you can use either a VPN service or install a firewall on your network. For work and business, whether it's a place you work for, or whether it's your business that you own, these are important. A lot of people don't think about this when they're at work, but a business has the same vulnerabilities as all of your personal devices in your home network, as well as even more. If you take into consideration what all they've got there, from employee social security numbers, not just yours but everybody's, the business financial side of things, as well as the direct pay or direct deposit. So, they've got all kinds of financial information there. But on top of that, they can have a damaged reputation, which could cause downside, or, loss of drop in sales and downsizing, or a financial loss. Same thing. A loss of customers, again, could hurt your job. Loss of clientele and vendors, or partnerships, or just valuable information, like I'd covered, social security numbers, or your direct deposit information. And in reality, the weakest link in security is always the human. Whether you're at home, whether you're out in public, whether you're at work, computers are only as safe as we make them, and computers, the network and data is only as safe as you allow it to be. So if you go around not password protected, then that's a problem. Or if you go around with a virus, that's a problem. So whatever you practice at home, treat your business like that, because that protects you. It protects you, your business, your livelihood, and everything else that could potentially be affected by, malicious software or poor safety and security. I had mentioned this in some videos as well as earlier in this video, but a VPN is something that, if you're tech savvy or just want to learn about it, it's something pretty cool. A VPN is a virtual private network that creates an end-to-end encrypted tunnel. So basically, here's your home network, and here's where you're trying to get. That VPN creates a tunnel there, and that tunnel is encrypted and locked down. That, on top of any passwords or antivirus software, multi-factor authentication, or any other good practices that you have, it just helps to add an extra layer of protection. When you're using a device that's mobile, your even home networks, sometimes, depending on what VPN you use, it can virtually make your device appear to be in a different area, or relocate it, so on and so forth, however you want to spin it. It can also help prevent ad tracking. So, if you talk about something or you go to a specific website, you'll notice that social media will send ads your way that are directed towards it, or you'll notice Google or other search engines will do that. So this helps, depending on what VPN you get, adds a layer, or helps prevent tracking or ad tracking. It also adds a layer of protection to web browsing to help fight against ads and other spam. It just helps you stay more anonymous to hackers. Most of them will cost you money, or at least most of the good ones that do everything in this list, like I have said. Public networks and online safety. I feel like we've already talked about this. Never, ever, ever, ever use a public network that is not password protected. If you have to use a public network, password protected or not, do not use any websites or applications that have secure data at all. So don't access your bank account, your car loan, your mortgage loan, your Amazon account or Walmart account or Home Depot. No online purchases, no bank information, nothing private. And if you decide to use a public network, use a VPN. Avoid transactions on websites that are HTTP rather than HTTPS. The S is secure, and if you see a website that has the S on there or a little lock in the web address bar, it's a good site usually. Avoid unfamiliar websites, as mentioned. If you're doing research, do .edu, .org, .gov, use .com for last. Avoid downloading from unfamiliar websites and companies that you've never heard of. Only go to trusted websites when possible. These two are kind of linking back to, if you're going to download software, only go to somewhere that's safe and secure. Like if you find a knockoff to a software that you're trying to use without paying for it, a lot of them that offer it for free, chances are it's either not legit or it's very limited, or they have the virus or malicious software embedded into that, and so as soon as you download it and open it, that malicious software spreads throughout your machine. So be safe. Run antivirus scans often. Set it up to where you have weekly or daily scans. And on top of that, if you have to do research or you've been visiting a ton of websites or you've been online a lot lately, or you joined a public network, use a antivirus scan of some sort. Travel safety. This is something not a lot of people think about. A lot of people go on vacation and they just tell a couple of friends, and then they get on social media and just start having fun, posting pictures, this, that, and the other, and people are like, oh, how long you gone? Oh, I'm not coming back for a week. Don't do that. Absolutely do not do that. Travel safety, as mentioned, avoiding public Wi-Fi and unprotected websites. First rule to follow there. Follow previous rules about online surfing, bank accounts, unprotected websites, and so on and so forth. Pretty much everything we've talked up to this point, and anything we say after, practice that when traveling. Another thing is disconnect Wi-Fi auto-connect features on your devices, disable Bluetooth and location services when not needed. Post as little, if at all, on your social media when you are on vacation, traveling for work, or just in general away from your house. Always give a family member or close friend your itinerary when traveling, so that way they know kind of what's going on. Check on your house, animals, kids, whatever they've got to do. Check your bank accounts and credit activity before your trip and after your trip when you get back. Just to make sure that, while you were gone, none of your information was stolen or hacked or anything like that. And then social media, limit what you share. So the less information about where you live, work, kids, anything that leads back to you, anything that makes you easily identifiable, don't post that stuff. I know a lot of people want to brag about their kids. That's great. You want to brag about your kids and where they go to school and so on and so forth, the sports teams they play for. But just be cautious when you do that. Make sure whoever is following you or friends with you or subscribe to you, whatever, if you're going to share that type of information, make sure that whoever has access to it isn't a malicious person or isn't going to steal your data or sell it. Never post social security numbers, bank accounts, credit cards, debit cards, where you have your loans, your physical address, your email address, your phone numbers, anything like that. Do not post them on social media. I know there are exceptions. Businesses want to post their information so they can sell people and attract customers. Totally get that. But for personal purposes, avoid that. And avoid posting as much as possible when you are on vacation. I know sometimes, myself included, I get excited about, oh, hey, that's a great sunset, or this beach is nice, or something, hey, I saw this cool car while I was out at so-and-so, such and such town. But still, avoid as much as you can about sharing, where you're at or how long you're going to be gone, because you don't want anybody that can physically break into your house, or anybody that's like, oh, hey, I might be able to use this to hack their information or steal their data. Limit your time on social media. This is something I think we all should do, old, young, or somewhere in between. It's proven that less time on social media is healthier for all of us, especially those under 18 years old with their minds still growing, easily influenced, emotional. I mean, we know how puberty and teens are, we've all been there. So, how emotional things can get. So, the less time you spend online, the better, especially when it's on social media. Use multi-factor authentication and change your passwords often. Use a different password, as mentioned, than for your social media accounts than what you do for your email, your work, your bank accounts, your mortgage, your computer, whatever, make it different than your phone as well. So that way if somebody gets into your phone, they can't get into your social media. But just in general, use different passwords. Be cautious of what images or videos you post. I feel like this is self-explanatory, but you don't want to get yourself in trouble because you bragged about something that was dumb and you shouldn't have bragged about. So just be smart. Extra information. I believe, yes, 2 slides on this one because it's a lot of information. As mentioned multiple times, use multi-factor authentication when possible. Shut off location services when they're not needed. Same with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi autocorrect. I know I mentioned that. Keep up to date on different types of threats. These threats could impact your devices, your bank accounts, all that stuff. If you see online that there is a breach, even if your bank or your department store or whatever, even if they haven't reached out to you to tell you, hey, your stuff was hacked, it doesn't mean that it wasn't. You go ahead and change your password. Make sure that all your devices have security updates. Learn about phishing and hacking attacks. Familiarize yourself with basic security terms such as encryption, malware, phishing, social engineering, spoofing, virus, and so much more. As you've probably heard, I've mentioned social engineering. I've mentioned virus and malware and end-to-end encryption. So just make sure that that you know all that. And one of my security videos, I go over a lot of different words and some terminology, so check that out. Back up your data regularly, whether it's your phone, your tablet, your computer. Make sure it's backed up. And whether you're backing it up to the cloud or a local hard drive somewhere or both, doesn't hurt to do both. Make sure that you keep your stuff backed up. If you want to learn how to build a home server so that way you can back your data up from one computer to another, you can watch my video on how to use Windows 10, and you can even do the same thing with Windows 11 to build a home server. I'll put that link down below as well. Review your accounts often to make sure that they are in order, whether you're looking at your email account, your social media, your bank, mortgage, any other loan really, or your work account. Just make sure, especially like I said, talk about your credit and bank accounts before and after traveling, just review your information often, whether it's every time you go to change your password, every 90 days, or however often you change your password, 180 days. Just make sure that you're checking all of your stuff as well. A good question: are you still using that? Delete unused applications from all of your devices, your phone, your tablet, your computer. If you're not using it, delete it, because if you're not using it, well, it's unneeded. But also, if you're not using it, is it updated? Does it automatically update or not? And if it's not automatically updating, guess what? You have a threat vulnerability on your device because of that outdated application. Cut up and dispose of old cards or bank account information. Delete inactive social media accounts or inactive department store accounts, credit accounts, emails. If you're not using it, you don't need it, delete it. Delete old apps that are no longer maintained by the developer. That's another good one. And as I mentioned earlier, with social media, we all could spend less time on it. Well, set time to stay off your devices. That way you can spend more time with family, finding a hobby, learning something new, whether it's studying something you love or just trying to grow your mind and education or mental toolbox in just a whole nother realm. Now, obviously, learning something new sometimes requires using a device to get online, but just try to maximize your time rather than waste it, is what I'm trying to say here. Less time online means less data online as well, which is always a good thing. Studies show that the less time you spend online, like social media, for example, the happier you are. Always be proactive about online safety and security, which is why I keep making these videos to help make sure that you guys are safe and secure out there. And another thing, use common sense. I put that in capital letters because even though it's called common sense, it doesn't seem to be so common these days. So a summary, what's at stake? Everything. Passwords and multi-factor authentication. There's free options. Use it. Phones, tablets, computers, keep up to date and secure. Email and phones. Avoid phishing attacks. Home network, keep safe, secure. Monitor as needed. If you have a modem or a router that's has a smartphone application, use it. Or even if it has a web browser login for your computer, use it. That way you can monitor your devices and boot off devices that are no longer needed on there, or change password too. With your work, just practice everything in this here for work and personal. VPN, it's a good option for keeping your stuff encrypted. Public networks and online safety, avoid them, be safe. Travel safety, can't stress it enough, just do everything I've taught you. Social media, I made it red and left it blank behind it. And the reason is that just be smart, use common sense, stay off of it. Don't waste your life on it. You can use it in moderation, just don't waste your life on it, especially if you are under the age of 18, or I would even say under the age of 25. There's better things out there than social media, or comparing yourself to other people, or feeling bad because you're not as successful or pretty as somebody else. So social media, just do what's right for you. Extra information, use common sense. Like I said, it's not so common these days, but using common sense can help you stay safe. So first, I want to thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to my page. Comment if you want. Ask questions. Whatever you'd like. I'm happy to have a conversation. You can follow my page on Facebook at Tech with Justin. I would like to ask you to share my videos and posts. I hope to gain more subscribers and help more people learn about computers and, just more than anything, staying safe. Be sure to watch my video about home network safety and security for more information on how to keep your home network safe. And then, check out my other videos to learn things such as making a home server, so that way if you want to back up your device to the cloud, but also you want to back it up to a physical hard drive, there you go. But most importantly, stay safe online. Thank you.